Somehow, for reasons I'm completely unclear of, 2025 is almost halfway over. This year has already had its share of massive game releases, but some of the big ones are still on the way, and probably quite a few we don't even know about. So as it stands now, here are 2025's biggest game releases that haven't happened yet that we currently know about. The month of May is currently underway as I am telling you this, and if you want a more comprehensive roundup of all the games coming out this month, we got a video specifically about that, and we do one every month, but a couple notable heavy hitters that are dropping in May that involve hitting heavy things are Doom: The Dark Ages, that rips and tears onto Xbox Series, PS5, and PC on May 15th. On the 23rd, there's the shiny overhaul of PS2 classic Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny on last-gen Switch and PC, and then on the 30th, Elden Ring Nightreign graces every platform where the Festival of Radon has ever been held, which is to say, everything but the Nintendo platforms as it currently stands. Speaking of Nintendo platforms, as you're probably aware, the Switch 2 release is the biggest thing happening in June. Unless, of course, you're coming to IGN Live in downtown LA on June 7th and 8th, scan the QR code on the screen to buy your tickets today, plug. And as you'd expect, the follow-up to one of the most successful consoles of all time has quite a launch lineup to go along with it. The big flagship launch title is, of course, Mario Kart World, which gives the kart racing classic the open world treatment, and for the looks of things, it's basically Forza Horizon with less horny anime decals and more banana peels, which is a decent compromise if you ask me. The not-so-big flagship launch title that probably should have just been a pack-in is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which seems cool and is basically a collection of tech demos and mini-games that showcase the new hardware. But again, it's kind of bogus to charge $10 for it. At the very least, maybe they could have made it free for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers? As far as I can tell, the only other notable exclusive launch title is Survival Kids, which is a modern spin on Konami's classic Game Boy Color Desert Island game, which may find an even wider audience in this post-Minecraft gaming landscape. There's also Fast Fusion, which sounds like a grab-and-go Thai burrito spot, but is in fact a game about flying race cars. Imagine that. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are both getting enhanced Switch 2 versions day one, and the owners of the vanilla versions can upgrade for $10 a pop, or for no additional cost if they're subscribed to the expansion pass tier of Nintendo Switch Online. Deltarune, the anagrammatical sequel to Undertale, has been rolling out piecemeal for the last couple years in chapters, but Switch 2 is getting the whole enchilada day one, which includes the first two previously released chapters, plus the brand new chapters 3 and 4. Doesn't seem like this one got anywhere near as much buzz as Undertale did, but maybe that'll change now that it's being released in its entirety. In addition to Switch 2, that is also dropping on Switch 1, both PlayStations and PC on June 5th as well. A ton of major third-party games from recent years are getting Switch 2 ports, a trend that's likely to continue, and many of these include a bunch of DLC and in some cases fun Switch 2 exclusive features. The games presently available day one are as follows: Split Fiction, Cyberpunk 2077, Street Fighter 6, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Fortnite, the hell is Fortnite? Hitman World of Assassination, Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, and Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer. Believe it or not, other games are also coming out in June for other platforms. If a Chris knife is your weapon of choice, walk without rhythm and you won't attract the worm in Dune Awakening, the massively ambitious survival MMO from the Conan Exiles devs. That's coming to PC first, with new-gen console versions in the works as well. On June 13th, Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic hits PC and PS5 and features more jump scares courtesy of those no-good animatronic puppets that have made a habit of terrorizing family fun centers and arcades. If you'd rather be stuck in an arcade cabinet instead of an arcade, there's also Tron Catalyst on June 17th, an isometric action-adventure courtesy of Mike Bithell, who gave us Thomas Was Alone, Volume, and John Wick Hex. That's on PC, Mac, Switch, and New Gen. On June 26th, slap on some sunscreen, throw a six-pack in the cooler, and grab a towel. It's time for a beach party, Kojima style. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is the long-awaited follow-up to the shockingly prescient post-apocalyptic mailman simulator. The first one basically predicted COVID and lockdown, so who knows what kind of unthinkable future events this one will portend. Hopefully it doesn't involve any singing puppets.
I just did me some talk to the sound.
That's on PS5. On July 24th, gather your friends and family around and prepare to destroy any semblance of healthy relationships you had with them while playing Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, the Switch 2 version of last year's entry in the long-running home-wrecking party game This will feature everything included in the Switch 1 version, plus a ton of new mini-games and features that make use of the new hardware, including the Joy-Con 2's mouse functionality as well as the webcam, which means that if you win in online multiplayer, you can laugh right in everyone's faces, but if you lose, all of your friends will see your tears. On July 11th, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is the thrilling conclusion to the semi-autobiographical semi-trilogy about a young boy who wanted to grow up to be a skateboard, and that young boy's name was Anthony Hawkins. Okay, not really, but you can still do some kickies, popovers, got your noses, and grimes with all your cool friends in backwards hats on both PlayStations, all 2.5 Xboxes, dozens, literally dozens of PCs, and the original Nintendo Switch. The game is slated for a Switch 2 release, but that one hasn't been given an official release date yet. Classic skateboarders running late as usual. If you ever wish Super Mario Odyssey was about causing felony amounts of property damage, or that Hulk Ultimate Destruction starred a gorilla running around completely nude except for a necktie, it's time to go bananas in Donkey Kong Bananza, which looks even more appealing than the wordplay in its title. That's exclusively on Switch 2, July 17th. On August 26th, Gears of War Reloaded gives the now classic shooter a fresh coat of paint, cranking the resolution up to 4K and the frame rate up to 120 frames a second, plus a bunch of other optimization where applicable. That's all very well and good, but the most exciting part of this is that in addition to Xbox Series and PC, it's coming to PlayStation 5 with cross-play and cross-progression, and anyone who already owns the Ultimate Edition on Xbox will get a free upgrade. The price point for everybody else is $40, which seems pretty reasonable if you ask me. What a thrill! On August 28th, you can finally play Metal Gear Solid Delta Triangle 3 Snake Eater, the ground-up remake of what is arguably the best all-around entry in Hideo Kojima's tactical espionage action series, and unquestionably the one with the best theme song. If you've never played a Metal Gear game, this is not a bad one to start with, and don't sweat the backstory or lore because this is canonically the earliest one in the timeline, so you can just start fresh here, and it will make just as little sense as it would have if you'd played all the games that came out prior. Basically James Bond meets Rambo, but with wackadoo anime villains who have crazy superpowers like shooting bees at you, dying of old age, or making you feel bad about yourself. That's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. A day later, Sega's classic ninja platformer Shinobi gets a glow-up in Art of Vengeance, an all-new entry from the team behind Streets of Rage 4, and it looks sick! It's also probably worth mentioning Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which basically is getting the same treatment from the developers of Blasphemous, doing the same thing for Koei Tecmo's classic hack-and-slash platformer, and really, this seems like what all publishers should be doing with dormant IP, finding awesome smaller devs who are already doing stuff in the same genre, and then letting them breathe new life into a franchise that was probably hugely inspirational for them in the first place. In any case, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is out August 29th, and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound has a summer release window, so it'll probably be out by then as well, and both of those are coming to everything. If you would prefer a more modern game about hacking and also slashing stuff, August 29th is when Lost Soul Aside is dropping. Originally slated for May, this Devil May Cry-like will undoubtedly benefit from some extra polish, but really, based on what we've seen so far, any more polish and it'll probably blind somebody. That's coming to PS5 and PC. On September 4th, Hell Is Us is a third-person action adventure that looks a little like if Death Stranding was a Souls-like, and also you had a lightsaber and a robot drone friend. That's on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. A day later, Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion hits Switch 2, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, and it might not be abundantly clear because of the cool-sounding $5 subtitle, but this is in fact a direct sequel to the 2019 action game that was released on the original Switch, which has since been ported to PC. On September 12th, you and up to 3 friends can squad up in Borderlands 4 to shoot bajillions of guns at stuff in the interest of acquiring bajillion more guns to shoot even more stuff with. Gearbox seems to be trying to steer its flagship looter-shooter franchise back towards its former glory, pumping the brakes on some of the bawdy humor of recent entries, while also addressing player complaints about Borderlands 3. That's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series with a Switch 2 version in the works for some ambiguous date later this year. On September 23rd, Bungie takes things full circle, bouncing back to its original pre-Halo FPS series Marathon, which has been fully modernized and reimagined as a hyper-saturated extraction shooter. It remains to be seen if this will hook people the way Destiny did, or if it'll appeal to fans of the original Marathon games, but hey, it sure is colorful. That's on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. On October 2nd, Ghost of Yotei sneaks onto PS5. It is technically a sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima, but set 329 years later on the complete opposite end of Japan, so you probably won't run into Jin unless he shows up as a literal ghost, which I don't think they would do because that's a little silly. Directive 8020 sounds like a graphics card, but it's in fact Supermassive's latest entry in the Dark Pictures anthology, which takes things into deep space. This is looking to be equal parts Alien, The Thing, and Event Horizon, but given the studio's pedigree for making narrative horror adventures, that's likely a bit reductive, and it's probably doing much weirder stuff than that. That's on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Speaking of venturing into the terrifying unknown, we now have crossed the release date Rubicon into games that do not currently have release dates as of me saying this into that camera right there. By the time you watch this video, that may have changed, so as always, check your local listings. But for now, here's some stuff that is slated for a vague 2025 release and may in fact come out this year, but like everything else on this list, it also may not. Dying Light the Beast is expected at some point this summer, which promises more open-world parkour and zombie-slaying action, and the return of the first game's protagonist. That's on all the PlayStations and Xboxes, as well as PC. Mafia: The Old Country features some throwback organized crime in 1920 Sicily, and if you're expecting this to be a nice sandbox game to hold you over until GTA 6, you might want to adjust expectations because all of the official marketing is sidestepping the term open world. There may be some freedom to explore, but it seems to be putting much more of an emphasis on linear narrative. That's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Speaking of Grand Theft Auto, Mindseye is the upcoming game from Leslie Benzies, who was one of the masterminds of every GTA from the original Open World 3 all the way up through 5, though he parted ways with Rockstar back in 2013. Mindseye was just revealed in February of this year, and it looks to be a massively ambitious sci-fi action game with plenty of GTA DNA, and it's supposedly dropping this summer, though considering the scope of what we've seen, I'm a little bit skeptical it'll be out this year. I would love to be proven wrong. That's coming to Xbox Series, PS5, and PC whenever it finally comes out. Another big 2025 release from a developer with an awesome track record is Judas from BioShock creator Ken Levine. Unsurprisingly, this bears more than a passing resemblance to our previous outings in Rapture and Columbia, but this time you're going to be using crazy superpowers and old-timey guns to kill robots on a spaceship called the Mayflower. That's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Speaking of killing robots, Lies of P Overture is planned to drop sometime before fall. It's not a full-blown sequel to the 2023 Bloodborne-infused take on Pinocchio, but it is a hefty DLC expansion that will act as a prequel to the main game. That's coming to everything that Lies of P is already on. A bunch of sequels to well-received games are on the way this year. Somebody would get mad if I didn't mention Metroid Prime 4 Beyond right out the gate, because that one was announced way the hell back in 2017. There was supposedly one version already in the works, but it wasn't up to stuff, so it got scrapped and everyone went back to the drawing board, and so that's what's been taking so long. That will be on both Nintendo Switches. Another cross-gen Switch release is Pokemon Legends ZA, the latest open-world action RPG set in everyone's favorite collectible monster-infested universe. If Pokemon is not your favorite collectible monster-infused universe, good news because there's also Digimon Story, Time Stranger coming at some point this year as well, and that'll be on all the non-Nintendo current-gen platforms. You can't put the Pokemon and the Digimon together or they're gonna pee everywhere. It's disgusting. Nobody wants that. A bunch of hit games from recent years are getting second installments. The Outer Worlds 2 expands on Obsidian's Deep Space first-person RPG, which will be on new gen and PC at some point. Subnautica fans have had plenty of updates to keep them busy since the deep-sea survival game launched way back in 2014, but the long-awaited sequel is expected to surface sometime this year on PC, and it'll likely be washing ashore on consoles later on. Slay the Spire 2 is hitting PC as well, which hopefully managed to stand out amidst all the roguelite deck builders that have piled up since the first game dropped in 2019. Light No Fire isn't a sequel, but it's Hello Games' follow-up to No Man's Sky, and while the first one set out to make a massively explorable, procedurally generated galaxy, this one is on a much smaller scale, sort of. It takes place on a magical fantasy planet approximately the size of Earth, and it's co-op out the gate so you can wander around with some friends. From the makers of No Man's Sky comes Four Dudes Ground. Speaking of team-ups, Marvel 1943 The Rise of Hydra will follow Captain America and Black Panther's grandpa, who is also Black Panther, as they team up and punch some Nazis in occupied Paris during World War II. Still super unclear how this will actually play, but it'll probably be very pretty. That's aiming for a holiday 2025 release, but no word specifically on which platforms it's actually coming to. Speaking of platforms, if you wish you could ollie onto or perhaps board slide along the edge of various platforms, good news because you probably can in Skate, the free-to-play live service spin on the beloved and self-explanatory series. Probably not the sequel longtime fans were holding out hope for, but hey, at least it'll be cheap to check it out. That's coming to PC as well as consoles and mobile at some point. Another free-to-play game dropping sometime this year is Mecha Break, which will have you making a very pretty pilot avatar and then piloting a very pretty giant robot against some other players and then probably suffering a few not that pretty defeats. That'll be coming to Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. I make several of these game release look-ahead videos a year, and 2 games that keep claiming they're coming out soon, but which have still not come out are Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 and The Wolf Among Us 2. So those games might come out this year, but they also might not. I'll believe it when I see it in either case. Let me reiterate once again that this is not all the games coming out in 2025, and everything I just said is subject to change. If you want more up-to-date information about what's coming out every month, keep an eye out for future episodes of the biggest game releases videos that we do every month. We sometimes do it at the end of the month, sometimes the beginning, just keep an eye out. As always, huge thanks to everyone who made this video come together, Amanda Medina, Chris Del Padre, and Logan Plant, and the biggest thanks of all to everybody who took the time to watch it. I'm sorry about my raspy voice. I'm either dying of some disgusting toddler cold or I have bad allergies. I can't tell which, but the end result is the same.
I think I'm getting the black lung, Bob.
If there's anything especially cool coming out this year that I didn't cover, shout it out in the comments below and tell us what is so cool about it. People are always like, you forgot this thing. Yeah, but why should I care? Tell me about it, describe it, make it sound cool, or funny, or just dunk on it. I don't care. On that note, I'm out of here. I'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.